The show is WinAction, and my name is Rashida Adeyinka Hassan. As the name suggests, WinAction is a program where we will be celebrating the winner actions that women, ordinary women in our community, in our society, women that both you and I meet every day on the streets, the actions that they have taken that have had extraordinary impact in their own life, the life of people around them, and within their community. And today on the show, I've got one of such women. You're going to meet her, and I'm sure by the time we finish in this section of the program, you're going to agree with me that this is a woman that is worth emulating, and you will find something to learn from her. Yes, I promised you that I have an extraordinary woman with me today. She is somebody that I'm so delighted to hear her story, to share her experience. I have Dr. Sariat Adila. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Salam alaikum.
You know we are used to salam alaikum. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Dr. Sariat, I'm so excited to have you on my show. And I'm sure you have a lot of experience to share with us, but I would like us to start this week. Just tell me, who is Dr. Sariat Adila?
Thank you for inviting me for the program. I'm highly delighted to be here. I am Dr. Sariat Adilako. I was born some 56 years ago by Alhaji Hamza Adebola and Alhaja Mulikat Olaniyo. And I went through my primary education, usually secondary education, and I was able to finish my first degree. I studied chemistry, BSc chemistry. Though, because of normal circumstances that happen in school, systemization here and there, I had a third class.
A third class.
Third class.
And now you are a PhD holder.
Yes.
That's the interesting, one of the interesting things I would like to share about Dr. Sariat Adila. You did a PhD.
Yeah.
Despite having a third class in your first degree. How did that happen? Because with third class, people would think, oh, she's going nowhere. So how did you get to that point that you are able to achieve a PhD and become a doctor with a third class to start with?
Thank you very much. Like I said, it came up from victimization from lecturers who require sleeping with ladies before they pass their examination.
So it wasn't that you were a dullard or you didn't know what you were doing. You were actually a bright student.
It came up during the final year of my BSc, and to God be the glory, I had the third class. But I was able to overcome the problem with support from my father. He gave me absolute support. He said my destiny is not in the hand of the person. That despite the fact that I have the third class, that he believed I was going to get to wherever I want to be. That I should not just allow that to discourage me. So eventually I had to go for postgraduate diploma in education. And after the postgraduate diploma in education, I was able to do a master's in special education.
You studied chemistry, and usually I know that a lot of times people think that most female children are not, or female people cannot be very strong in sciences. So how come you are studying? You were able to study chemistry, be a science student, and do, I'm sure the PhD you did also, it's along the line of the
Science
sciences
yeah.
and maths.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I had during my secondary school days, I fell in love with sciences. I like being creative. Having to interact with physical things, being able to. I could remember a day in the laboratory. I like pouring things together. I would stay at the back when we were during teaching, mixing so many chemicals together. There was a time it paused on my face. I quickly ran out and washed my face. I fell in love with sciences from my little when I was a little girl. And it is people feel women, or girls will not be able to do sciences. It's an erroneous belief. It's an erroneous belief. Initially, I intended being a medical doctor. After my first jam, when I wasn't giving
JAM is joint matriculation
examination in Nigeria. When I was unable to score enough to get admission into medicine, so that was why I changed by the following year, because I was desperate to go to the university that year. That was when I changed to chemistry. And eventually, from that time, initially I want to work in the company. But like you said, I remember when I finished, my father took me to a 7-Up bottling company. We got there. I think he was already promised that I would be given
a job. Yeah.
I would be given a job. But by the time we got there and they saw me, a lady, the man said, no, we have stopped taking ladies in our quality control unit. Very sorry indeed.
They are lost, I would say.
So it was because I was a lady. That was when I couldn't get work in 7-Up bottling company.
Wow.
So later I decided to go into education. That was why I did postgraduate diploma.
Yeah, and now
education.
talking about the education, and that's another thing that you were going to talk about, your PhD and all that. You did a PhD in what now?
I did a PhD in access of science, engineering, and mathematics. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to persons with visual impairment.
Yeah, that's the interesting part I wanted you to talk about. Now, teaching science and maths to people who are visually impaired.
Yeah, that
what
was
got you to do that, and how? What were you able to do it?
Thank you very much. I got appointment with the Federal College of Education Special Oyo in Nigeria in 1988 into the Department of Integrated Science. In our college, we train teachers of persons with special needs. So those we train, I expected to go to special schools to teach after their schooling with us. So during my, over 20 years of teaching, I realized that persons with visual impairment don't come to our department. They don't come to not just integrated science department, all the departments in the School of Science. So I now venture into why. So I then realized that it is because they are unable to do mathematics and anything that has to do with calculation, mathematics and diagrams in sciences. That is why we don't used to have.
You mean in their secondary school they are not able?
They are not
once
able
once you are visually impaired, you're not able to do maths or science.
Up till now. There are schools,
now
yes,
in Nigeria.
There are schools.
Is that a practice all over in most places, or it's just a problem in Nigeria?
Actually, accessing mathematics and science is a problem all over the world. But there are a lot of development in some countries. That was why when I realized there are development in some other countries, that was why I felt I could try and see how persons with visual impairment in Nigeria too will be able to do mathematics and will be able to do science. And with my interaction with them, when we go for teaching practice supervision, when our students we are teacher trainers, during some time they go for placement in schools, we go around to supervise them. So when you meet these children, you see that they are very brilliant, and many of them will tell you they want to be a pilot, they want to be an engineer.
But they are already discriminated against.
They are already discriminated because once mathematics teacher comes in some school,
so how far were you able to go with that intervention? So
during my PhD, I was able to design a kit for teaching blind students mathematics.
Wow.
And I was able to design tactile diagrams. Tactile diagrams mean they are going to use their hand to read the diagrams. Instead of reading it on the screen, they use their hand to perceive the diagram. There's so many tactile diagrams before, but because in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria, mathematics, I realized that why the problem existed was because the teachers teaching mathematics and science are mostly sighted. And there are people who don't know anything about special education. They don't know anything about visual impairment education. Not to talk of knowing how to teach the visually impaired children science. So I now decided to combine print and braille labels on my design, so that the teacher that is sighted will be able to read the print, and the children that is blind will be able to read the braille. I realized there is a particular equipment that can make them able to do all practicals.
Wow.
So I now took what I designed with that particular equipment. I took them to Nigeria, to some schools, to evaluate.
So how much of it has been
in fact,
taken up by the Nigerian in Nigeria?
What happened was that I felt if I have to leave everything to government, before the government gets to acquire it or possibly see that it is possible, we have to overcome attitudinal problems. Teachers should first know that this thing is possible. We have to give these things to students. We have to develop confidence in the students to be able to see that they can do this thing. So now felt if we want to leave it to government alone, it might take time. And most times when you drop your thesis in the library, it will die in the library with nobody knowing whatever you have done. So because of that, I decided to register a non-governmental organization in Nigeria. So I learned it as Science and Technology for Nigeria Persons with Special Needs Initiative. So that I aimed at least taking the organization will be able to go to schools, meet teachers, meet students, and do a lot of things.
How much of that have you been able to do now? Are you going to become to schools in Nigeria?
Yeah. Actually, we have gone to schools in Nigeria, and even we organize workshops for teachers. The last one we had was in Lagos. We invited teachers of mathematics and science from schools in Lagos, because inclusive education is the in thing now, and it is good, because those with special needs, they will not continue to live with special needs people for life. They are going to live with other people. That is why inclusive education, that is where they are trained along with other students. So that is why we now invite mathematics and science teachers from schools together in Lagos. In fact, some of the pictures you see, we organize workshop. Then we invited some blind students and we gave them those materials to use. So the teachers were amazed, seeing that what they felt was impossible is
It's
now
actually
possible.
possible.
And
Now,
during
that-
that time, we invited teachers and the Ministry of Education and Universal Basic Education Commission too. So that if they see,
how much were they supporting? Did they come?
no, they attended. Some of them attended, but
Are you happy with the take-up? Were they supporting?
No. There has not been any. You are just doing it because by the time I was packing.
So you are doing what the government is supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
as an
because
individual.
by the time I was packing my material from the school, those students were crying that they were unable to do mathematics. They used to go out when mathematics.
You mean students in secondary
Students in
schools where
secondary
you
school,
took your
where I
materials?
took them, where I evaluated the material. By the time
Wow.
I finished the evaluation, I was packing. They were crying. Even they wanted me to leave everything. I said no. There was when I promised that.
Sorry, I would like to say something there. I think this should be a call to the government of Nigeria that we've got people like this that can help to actually achieve and make our communities more effective and more meaningful to people even with special needs. So if somebody can come up with this kind of intervention, I think it's high time that somebody is telling the government that they should be doing something about that. I'm sorry, I just needed to say that before we go on, because it's part of why we're doing this, because we want to inspire people. It's not only individuals, even governments can be inspired to do the right thing. So I haven't talked about that. Now, you did your PhD here
In the UK,
in the
University of
UK.
Birmingham.
in Birmingham. Now, you said to me that you started an NGO, a charity, even here in the UK,
Yeah, yes.
because you could see there was a need.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about such things, we normally assume that it is in developing countries that you have such problems and that they are not being, no intervention is being put in place to address them. Are you saying that even here in UK, you were able to identify that people with special needs have the same kind of problem or the same kind of need?
Yes, I think I mentioned the other time that in practicing inclusive education is good, whereby persons with special needs, this time around, persons with visual impairment, attend schools that are close to their houses, are being taught with the other students. But the schools are unable to meet the level of need.
Even here
Even
in the
here
UK.
in the UK, the government are providing for them, but even here, they provide for them for independence, but for them for the choice of career.
Subjects. To be able to say, I want to do maths, science, and
Then with the current cutting support to schools, so a lot of areas are there that needs to. I was in some of the schools. They have some equipment, they have some talking devices, but those devices still
they are not as effective.
they are not as effective as to what is expected. That's
So
why
what you're doing here now? What specifically are you doing here in the UK in that regards?
yes, we register a charity and we call it Science and Technology for Persons with Special Needs Initiative. Science and Technology for Persons with Special
And
Needs
how
Initiative.
far is that going?
We actually we have a program on 12th of November. It's a day program. We want to bring persons with visual impairment all around England and Wales together, and we'll bring models. Those I know someone
Role
who has a
models.
PhD in chemistry and is blind from age 6.
Wow.
So we'll bring those people there with materials, and the students will be able to interact with those materials. We hope at the end of the day, they will develop enough confidence so when they get back to school, they will be ready to, they will believe in themselves that they can do. And when they get back to school, with their encouragement, with their readiness to do, the teachers in school we want to support them. That is one of our programs. Then the second one is that we are hoping to have an accessible laboratory.
Is there a personal reason why you're doing this?
The reason would be my wanting to help. I know from I learned this from my father. You always want to help. you always want to help. I learned it from my father, and that is why from I am the firstborn of the family, and I thank God. I was the one that trained all my siblings. They were not just one, up to 7 or 8 of them.
Wow.
Up to university, I trained all of them,
Mm.
and sometimes, well, I had a school back in Nigeria, and I partner with some people to establish schools. In these schools, we integrate those with special needs in our schools.
So,
And
what kind of satisfaction do you get from doing this?
the satisfaction I get from it is, I mean, in my whole life, I like to work towards getting the pleasure of Allah.
Mm. That's good.
I think that is
Something
just the summary.
like for the pleasure of Allah.
Mhm.
And with that, we've come to the end of the interview segment, and I hope you've seen what I've said about my guest. She is quite extraordinary. She's not just an ordinary woman. She's a woman that is making a very, I won't say a very, she's making important impact within the community, within our immediate environment. And she has not just limited herself to our local community or our immediate environment. She's even going international. She not only do something in Nigeria, she's here in the UK also doing something. And with that, we'll take a very short break and we'll be back for our next segment. You don't want to miss it. It's a very important segment of this show. The program is still WinAction, and I hope you've had, a very inspiring time with my guest today, Dr. Adelakun. And just like I promised you, this segment you don't want to miss because it is what will prepare us for the next show, and I'm sure you will be looking out for that next episode. And this segment I've called Peg Your Achievement on the WinAction Achievement Board. So, Dr. Adelakun, you are here with me now, and you've seen my board, the WinAction Achievement Board, because this program is about inspiring people. It's about helping us all to identify, the things we can do to make ourselves better people. Now, we've talked about all the things you've done. We've talked about we were not able to look at your challenges very well. So the Peg Your Achievements. It's called Peg Your Achievements. I want you, in your own words, it could be either a word or a phrase, to write on this paper for me. Yeah? What would you describe as the pain that you had to go through in achieving whatever it is that you have achieved today that we are talking about and is making a difference? So maybe I'll just give you 1 minute to do that. Tell me, write on this paper clearly, write it in a way that people can see. What do you think is the most painful thing, the pain that you actually went through? Can you write it? Can you make it very big? Write it in your biggest handwriting. It's more than a phrase, but it's okay. It said getting my husband approval all the time. That was a big thing. We're going to talk about it, but you have to peg it on my board yourself. I've got the pins there. Just peg it there for me. Thank you. We'll talk about it, briefly, and then yes, now you've achieved all these things. You must have been empowered in a way to do it. Just tell me, what is that thing that what you call as your empowerment, that thing that has really given you the strength and ability to do what you're doing? said one. I know you have a lot. I want one.
It's a sentence.
Okay, it's a sentence.
It's
okay.
a sentence.
Okay, so it's not. So it's what?
It's a sentence. That is education. My education, self-determination, and absolute faith in Allah.
Allah Akbar. That's good. And then the last one, the game.
The game. Okay. Okay. I master everything I do.
I think I'm going to start charging people when they write more than I've asked them to.
This one, I have to remove this. Okay. I master everything I do. That everything I do it to perfection. And that when you do so many things, people will say, jack of all trades, master of none. For me, by the grace of Allah, it's been everything I do, I always have mastered. I like the confidence with you to say that, and that is what I want for every woman, and that's why we're doing this. Now, you talked about getting your husband's approval in a very, just how was that for you? How painful was that? Actually, culturally, men sometimes don't want their wives to, with a fear of if she's able to, if she's financially okay and I'm not be able to control her, she may grow she may grow wind. So most of the time, to get approval, and alhamdulillah, I always say get approval for all the things eventually. Although it is after a lot of perseverance, begging, and alhamdulillah, has never taken me away from all the duties, the old duties that I'm supposed to.
And then you said education and self-determination.
Yeah, that is the level of education. It is good.
You have a PhD, so I can understand that.
It is good to be educated. I do a lot of things. I like learning. So but when you are educated and self-determination, I mentioned something spiritually that I believe in. By the grace of God, achieving everything I want to achieve. Whatever obstacles on my way, I will punch it if it requires punching. If it requires kicking, I will kick. If it requires jumping, I will jump. After having applied the determination, boom, if eventually, if I didn't get there, that's when I will believe this is destiny. But education, self-determination, while I do all the punching and believe it's only what God wants you to be able to do that I will do. So I keep my absolute faith in Allah. Strong.
And then the last one.
Strong.
I said, what have you gained? You said, master everything.
I master, by the grace of God, I master everything I do. I'm able to, I don't know how to present it. That everything I'm into so many things.
There is something before you go. Let's just wrap up with this. Let us just wrap up with this. Although I know we should have talked about it earlier on, but I just want you to talk about it briefly. And that's the braille for reading the Quran. Is that what's that about? Just briefly.
Yes, we see that in most of the schools for the blind, there's virtually nothing there for Muslim children, and that's why we decided to prepare braille books and distribute to school. We organize workshop and train blind students how to read the Quran in braille so that they are able to read it on their own. So we are moving from one place to the other. We are planning one for the UK to organize a central one. We used to organize it for a week. We are planning one for the UK.
That's really great.
And
that's good to know.
too.
That's really good to know. Thank you very much, Dr. Ade. I was really very, very inspired by you.
Thank you
I
for
hope that
inviting me.
you keep doing great, you keep doing well.
Thank you very much.
Now, and that is the
that is it for today, and I do hope that you've been able. If nothing, remember all the kicking, punching, and what was the last thing you said? I can't remember. And jumping over all the obstacle in your way to achieving. And once you've done all the kicking, all the punching, and all the jumping, and you've not achieved what you want to achieve, or whatever, or you think you have not achieved what you want to achieve, then you know that it is what God has actually destined for you. But you must always keep trying and keep doing so that you win. As the program is, you need to take your own win action.